Hello everyone and welcome to the Giant Brain Lecture Theatre. I'm Ian McAllister and I'll be your interviewer tonight. The world of conventions has been a turbulent one over the last few years. The pandemic meant that many conventions went online, on hiatus, or simply vanished, never to return. Although coronavirus may not be over, the lessening impact on society has allowed for the return of public gatherings and the resumption of conventions. I was honoured to be invited to attend Gothcon, one of the biggest gaming conventions in Sweden, and in order to prepare me for that and to get some insights into the Swedish gaming scene, I'm delighted to welcome Pontus, Wolke and Hampus Nordin from the Gothcon Organising Committee to the Giant Brain Lecture Theatre. How are you doing, gents?
Fine, thanks.
Thank you for having us.
I hope I got your names pronounced correctly there. This is one of my big fears for coming over to Gothcon, is that I'll have to remember everyone's name, which I'm bad at anyway, and also pronounce them correctly.
Oh, close enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Close enough. Excellent. Well, so let's start with an easy one. What is Gothcon and how long has it been running for?
Well, it's a, let's say, non-digital convention with, from the start, mostly role-playing games. But since a long time back, we also have board games, miniature war games. We have had cosplay, a lot of people coming there to sell stuff like game makers and stuff. Yeah.
Excellent. So also sort of exhibitors and that kind of type?
Yeah, exactly. We've been going on since 1977.
1977? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was told that we were the oldest running convention in the world, but I'm not sure that's correct.
In the world? Oh, I've never heard that, but I like it. Let's say we are.
Yeah, let's say we are.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when Gen Con started, and it might be a bit later than that. The official sort of Gen Con and what it is now from what it was. That's interesting. Yeah. I'll have to look that one up. 1977.
No, don't bother. Just go with it.
I'm not going to do it now. I'll look it up later. So what's the general sort of size of the convention these days?
Well, it's a bit hard to say with the pandemic and all, but before that we had some pretty stable years with counting in the staff and the organizers. We had about between 2,200, 2,600 people all in all.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty good attendance. Yeah, so where is it held? So it's held in Gothenburg, but whereabouts in Gothenburg? Like, what's the venue like?
It's actually a school or a collection of schools right in the middle of town. It's actually my old high school. So,
all right.
Yeah. So we're renting like 6 or 7 buildings smack in the middle of town.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really easy to get there if you come to Gothenburg. So.
Well, a collection of schools. Can you sort of clarify that for me? Is it like different sort of like, is it like primary? Well, what we'd call primary. So like young children and then teenagers and that kind of thing all sort of together in one campus?
Yeah, it's both the municipal high school and also some private schools. So 6 different buildings with not all of them the same owners.
All right. Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
We've got some campuses like that in the UK, but not that many. There's one near me in Dalkeith, sort of like primary school, high school, and sort of special education school as well.
All right.
All sort of all on one campus. I believe they want to do that more across the country, though there's some controversy about that. Anyway, getting off topic. You mentioned the pandemic there, Hampus. Like, how did the years of the pandemic affect your ability to put on Gothcon? I know Sweden's response to the coronavirus was quite different to the UK's. So were things shut down? Did you continue?
No, right. In the beginning, we are held every Easter. We've always been doing on Easter. So when the pandemic broke in like start of March,
yeah,
we only had a few weeks. So it was cancelled the first year, 2020, the first pandemic year. There was no way for us to have it.
Sure.
Which is really sad. We had a lot of great plans for that year that were sadly cancelled.
And just to clarify, the beginning of March is when the Swedish government announced its restrictions on how many people could be in a certain crowd.
Yeah,
sure.
That's what gave us, I think, maybe 5 weeks at most to see if we could make something else happen. But that was just too short notice.
Yeah.
Sure. Did you move online at all that year, or did it just get cancelled completely?
It was cancelled completely. We had so much resources dug into everything else that we couldn't go. Because usually we are not the digital convention at all. We have very little attendance online, so it was hard for us to just reset in a few weeks.
Yeah, of course.
That was my last year as a chairman, and then Pontus took over. And Pontus, you can tell about the first year you had.
Yeah, sure. That was a doozy. Yeah, for the oh gosh, time is so difficult to keep track of now. 2021.
Yeah.
The convention 2021. Yeah, that was my first year as chairman, and that was the year that we switched to do a primarily digital convention because the restrictions were still in place, so we still couldn't do a regular convention.
Right. So, what sort of form did that take? What did it look like?
It took the form of us basically organizing a few events so we rented a school, a much smaller school than we usually rent, and we organized a few small physical set pieces that we then live streamed. So we had a Swedish game publisher, for example, demoed one of their new games. We had a 40k hidden tournament. We had a diorama miniature game called Brains, and a couple of other things like that, and some role played live. We had some lectures, that kind of stuff, panel chats, and things like that.
Sure, and those were all sort of streamed for people to consume online.
Yeah, and also we built up our Discord and sort of invited people in to play on various tabletop simulators in our Discord and do the best we could to emulate the feeling of being at a convention, even though no one could actually be at a convention.
Sure, yeah, but like many conventions did it go back to sort of being a full convention in 2022?
Yes, it did. We went back to more or less the usual, although the year immediately after the convention, our attendance record went down a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, we were back in more or less our old form as of last year.
Sure. Has there been any? I know some conventions have had some demand from folk who've been consuming digital conventions and can't attend normally for whatever reason to continue that sort of digital presence in some way or form. Have you seen any of that sort of demand upon yourselves for 2023?
Yeah, there's been a few people actually mentioning that the digital year was their first and only year they've been to Gothcon because they haven't been able to attend for whatever reason. So we know that a few people actually would like us to have a permanent digital presence as well.
Have you done anything about that for this year? Are you going to try and stream some parts of the convention for folk online?
No streaming this year, but we have built up our pod collection of rooms.
Yeah, sure.
That is something that Pontus is part of working on, I think. So maybe you can tell more about that, Pontus.
Yeah, sure. Yes, Ian knows about this.
Yeah, I'm in that Discord.
Yes, you are. But this year, a few of our sort of podcasts who show up each year, last year they did something slightly impromptu, which turned into something really cool. They've banded together to make kind of a common pod room at the convention, which is tons and tons of pods of tabletop game pods in Sweden, kind of gathering together and sharing resources and also just collaborating, doing tons of interviews that cross over between different pods and stuff like that, and talking about not just Gothcon, but things like that, which has been a really, really cool thing to see.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm hoping to get involved in some of that stuff myself when I'm over. So how does Gothcon get organised? You guys have mentioned a committee a couple of times. Is the committee always the same? Are you volunteers to this thing? Is it a paid position? How does it work?
It's not paid, I can assure you of that.
Yeah, none of us are paid. We have other full-time jobs.
Sure.
But it's we have a yearly meeting where we decide on the board, and then the board gets to take out a committee of people. Usually it's the same as last year, but of course we, as everyone else, need to fill up each year. And then we have meetings during the year, dates that we have to get our webpage online, and all the people are coming in. And just yesterday we released our pre-booking for the visitors. All the tickets were released yesterday.
Great.
Yeah.
So, is there? How does that sort of committee come about? Is there a sort of voting system for like who gets on it? Is it just a matter of someone sticking up their hand? Or I know like some of the smaller conventions here run the sort of similar kind of thing where there's sort of a voting kind of thing happens every year. But how's it work for Gothcon?
So just to reiterate what Hampus said there in the beginning, the board is elected democratically, with every member of the Gothcon organization voting, and then the board kind of appoints the committee, or the staff, as we call it.
Sure.
Which, I mean, 99% of the time, if you put your hand up for a position, you get that position. But officially, it's appointed by the board.
Sure. So, I mean, I don't know much about the Swedish gaming scene. So what would you say are the sort of defining characteristics of that scene? Is there a particular flavor or design philosophy that runs through a lot of games produced in Sweden?
I'm not really sure. What's been really interesting is that in the last 10 or so years, there's been quite an RPG revolution in Sweden, which I've always had the impression that when it comes to board games, like the Swedish scene kind of outputs as many games as you'd expect a country like Sweden to do. But in terms of RPG, Sweden punches a bit above its weight.
Okay.
And has historically too. We have a pretty strong RPG tradition in Sweden with older games like Drakar and Demoner, and a bunch of different versions of Mutant and all kinds of different things like that. But in the last decade or so, you've had primarily tons of stuff like Free League coming out, with just game after game after game, which I'm extremely happy to say a lot of those games were sort of premiered at Gothcon.
Nice.
I'm not really clever enough to analyze those games for any sort of themes to tell you what are Swedish RPGs like in any deeper kind of sense. But we output quite a lot of them, and especially in the last 10 or so years. And those are just the big ones that sort of reach out internationally. There are ones that you probably don't know if you're not from Sweden as well.
Do you have a particular favorite yourself, Pontus and Hampus? Are you both role players, or?
Yeah, we are.
So, particular favorites from the Swedish gaming scene for yourselves?
For me, I love Symbaroum from Free League.
Oh, okay. I haven't played Symbaroum. I've only played Vaesen.
Yeah, Vaesen.
So yeah, I've played that and really enjoyed it.
The dark fantasy stuff. The setting is awesome.
Cool.
I am just trying to remember how it was translated into English. Tales from the Loop. I really, really enjoyed when that came out a few years ago, and I had the opportunity to play one of the scenarios with one of the writers of that game as well. It was really cool.
Great. Yeah, because I believe they've just announced a UK campaign book for Tales from the Loop.
Fun. I know they did an American one, but are they doing a UK one now? Oh, cool.
Yeah, they just announced a couple of days ago. I'm trying to desperately remember what the name is. I haven't played Tales from the Loop, but it's on my sort of like want to run list. I'm the primary GM in my group. I don't know about you guys. Are you primary players or GMs?
Player, but actually trying my hand at GMing right now.
Yeah, for my local group, my regular group, I'm I'm the main GM. Though someone else has sort of picked up some work recently, which is good. So I've actually got to play some games like Blades in the Dark, which I talked about on one of the Swedish podcasts recently.
Oh yes, I heard you.
Yeah, I absolutely love. I might listen to that cast. I'm not sure. Don't know if I want to listen back to myself talking and blabbering.
Ian, what was the book you mentioned? Was it They Grow Up So Fast?
Yes. That's what it was called.
That's the one. I saw it also, yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what the name was because the name was really nice. Like a really interesting sounding name. Yes, They Grow Up So Fast. So yeah. I might pick up. I'm not always a big fan of running like pre-written campaigns. My brain doesn't quite work that way, which is why I like things like Blades in the Dark, which are a bit more improvisational in their nature for the GM.
All right.
But yeah, I might be tempted back into that kind of thing by Tales from the Loop, and They Grow Up So Fast. If it's a sort of UK based campaign, that could be kind of interesting.
Nice.
What are the sort of like? So you say there's like a sort of big RPG tradition in Sweden. Does that like harken back to like days of D&D, or are there different origins for role playing games in Sweden?
There are, unfortunately. I wasn't a part of that tradition. I wasn't a tabletop gamer until I got into my early 20s, really.
Okay.
So that kind of passed me by. But there definitely was. There was a co-current scene developing, thanks to, but also in reaction to D&D. And the Swedish RPG scene definitely went slightly its own way.
Okay.
And has kind of continued. Mutant Year Zero, another Free League game, for example,
sure.
I'm sure you know. That game has its root in several much older Swedish RPGs dating back to 19.
Sure.
But that's a Swedish RPG with a long and rich history.
Cool. So are there any big events in the Swedish gaming calendar that are held specifically at Gothcon that sort of like draw people into the convention?
We had some tabletop championships, and we had a lot of the role-playing companies do releases on Gothcon.
Okay. What sort of thing? I think Pontus mentioned there's 40k tournaments and that kind of thing happening at the convention this year.
Well, I don't actually know if there are 40k tournaments this year. There usually are, so I'm betting there. But
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Good. But we've had historically we've had tournaments in Magic, Carcassonne, Diplomacy. I believe
Diplomacy.
Yeah. That's going back 2 years. Munchkin.
Yeah.
And I believe we have I don't know if it's in the Guinness Book of Records. It probably isn't, but I believe we have the official record for the largest game of Carcassonne played at Gothcon. Yeah.
Wow. How many players?
Well, there were only like 4 players, but they filled up an entire room. They had like...
you mean the size of the actual...
Oh, yeah, physically the largest... among the piles.
Okay.
Yeah.
It had a lot of boxes of Carcassonne for that.
Yes.
It took them 3 days almost to put all the tiles out.
I've got a feeling I may have seen pictures of that somewhere online.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we also have the Phoenix Awards at Gothcon, which are sort of Sweden's premier RPG award ceremony.
All right. Okay. What sort of categories are in those awards?
Hampus, help me out here. Do you remember what exactly? Well, not exactly, because there's like 20 different ones, but...
Yeah, sure.
I think it's best art cover, best story, best role-playing convention, which we actually won a few times.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Hampus, you're sort of in charge of exhibitor kind of things this year, are you? Or like you usually are? Yeah. What exhibitors would you recommend I sort of check out when I'm over there?
Oh, we have so many. I think it's like 40 of them. Everything from people doing great art stuff to like, as we've spoken about earlier, Free League.
Yeah, of course.
So, but just to mention a few, you should check out Krashnikov Art.
Okay.
It's a guy named Joe Taylor. He's does some really, really great stuff, like Gothenburg scenes with a Cthulhu-esque theme.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Anyone else?
are so many to check out.
If you're looking for sort of a Swedish game developer kind of thing that you probably haven't heard of, I would recommend perhaps finding Wild Hallon at one of our booths, assuming they're going to have a booth this year, but I assume they are.
They are.
Wonderful. They make kind of they make several different kinds of games, but they're lately they've been releasing a lot of politically themed, mainly card games.
Okay, interesting. Like Swedish politically themed or worldwide politically themed, or a bit of both?
I mean, a bit of both. Swedish politics aren't that different from the rest of the world, so, you know.
Also released a zombie role-playing game called Shoot 'Em in the Head.
Oh, yes.
Sure. I mean, that seems straightforward enough to tell what that's about.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, I mean, I was saying to Hampus just before we started recording that one of the things I really like to do at conventions is see smaller publishers, and especially coming across to Sweden, I'll be seeing publishers that I've never heard of, which will be fantastic. And like the folk that don't necessarily have international reach, like Free League is obviously everywhere. And yes, it'll be nice to talk to those folk and see their products, but it'll be more interesting for me to see the smaller publishers that are local to Gothenburg or Sweden.
Yeah,
sure.
And see their products. So yeah, if you have any recommendations between now and then, just shoot them over to me, and I'll be sure to check them out. I've got a list already that I need to start actually reading up on and getting in touch with.
All the exhibitors are actually collected in one building on the school. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the tour.
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be fantastic. So is it? How is the con split up? Just out of interest, since we're on that.
Well, we have, as I said, like 6 buildings.
Sure.
We usually have a big sports facility where we hold the bigger tournaments, like the 40K one or the Magic one.
Sure.
And then there are a lot of drop-in events all over the school. We usually try to keep like board games in one place and miniature games one place, all the exhibitors in one building. And then there are a lot of course, rooms that aren't available for everyone since role-playing sessions going on.
Yeah.
And then we also have a cafe. So we serve some food and sell some merchandise there. It's also where our reception is. So it's like the hub, the heart of the convention.
Sure. Yeah. Gamers like to be fed.
Yeah.
And everything else gets squeezed in wherever we can find space.
Yeah.
Sure. You basically have the sort of run of the complex pretty much, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. So, I mean, over the last couple of years, gaming worldwide, or tabletop gaming worldwide at least, has seen an explosion in interest and revenue as people are basically stuck in their houses and buying board games and role-playing games to play. Do you know what sort of growth the Swedish gaming scene has seen in terms of interest, in terms of sort of mainstream appeal? We've seen a lot more sort of games like Wingspan, like Dungeons and Dragons coming into the mainstream and featuring on like British television shows and that sort of thing. Has a similar sort of thing happened in Sweden?
I would say so. I mean, even my normie friends and colleagues know about D&D from like TV shows and stuff. We're seeing cafes with gaming themes, hotels with gaming themes in Sweden.
Hotels?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
We have one chain that's together with the esports community of Sweden have had some.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think we had anything like that in the UK. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's very cool. So, I've like you mentioned TV shows there. Like, do you think like sort of Stranger Things, that kind of thing is?
Yeah, exactly.
An impact. Yeah. Has Critical Role as well? Has that had an impact over in Sweden, or is it more the sort of like mainstream TV shows like Stranger Things that are sort of having the interest version in Sweden?
I don't know what you would say, Pontus. For me, it's people I know that are into Critical Role are already part of the scene. It's nothing new for them.
For yourself, Pontus, what's been your experience of the sort of growth of the Swedish gaming scene? Have you seen it?
I don't think I have because I'm already in it, unfortunately.
Sure.
But I did catch the tail end of what Hampus was saying, and yeah, when it comes to stuff like Critical Role, I was going to say, sadly, still nice for those of us who are converted, but they do preach to the converted a lot of the time, I think.
Yeah.
I hope it's growing. We do what little we can to make it grow. That's one of the things we always try to do with Gothcon, is to reach out to new people and bring in new people to the hobby and to the scene.
Yeah. Do you get a sort of wide range of folk attending Gothcon? Because one of the things I like about, I don't go too much anymore, but UK Games Expo, for instance, which is the biggest UK gaming con, has quite a lot of families and folk attending, and people aren't necessarily gamers in air quotes. Do you sort of attract people with a wide variety of interests, not necessarily just the hardcore?
I would say that it's mostly hardcore people, or not. If we see the statistics each year, I think that last time I checked, 69% of our visitors had been on 10 or more Gothcons.
Sure.
And over 40% had been on 20 or more Gothcons. So,
wow.
Loyal people, which is awesome. But of course, we would like to see more people, other people, younger people, because we usually, like a joke, say that, well, last year the mid age was 36 and this year's 37. So, yeah.
And if you let that graph continue, it ends in a, predictable place.
Yeah, it just ends, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing that I do think is really, really wonderful with Gothcon is that our exhibitors or organizers, then there is quite a large range of what kind of exhibitor they are. We have everything from the big league people, like Free League, for example, and then we have the people who, whether they might call themselves professional game publishers or not, they're somewhere in the middle. And then we have the kind of people who just make something in their basement, so to speak, or come to Gothcon to showcase their art, or their a gaming accessories that they make as a little side project or whatever it is. And that range, I think, is very wonderful, because that's another side of the hobby beyond just the players of games.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm headed down to Aircon in March in Harrogate, down in England, in York, near York, and it's very similar. It's got a wide range of sort of publishers, from sort of like big names to right down to small, sort of like bespoke, sort of handmade dice bags and that kind of thing. So yeah, well, loads of people. I'll be very interested to see what the Swedish scene has to offer when I'm over.
Yeah, among those, there are actually those who've been with us for several years that are not from Sweden. They come from Finland and England and other countries to attend Gothcon and publish their stuff and show us the gear they made and stuff. It's great.
Cool. What sort of international exhibitors do you attract?
We have Bard & Jester from Finland. They make like steampunk stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Hats and goggles and that sort of thing.
Yeah, sort of cosplay stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, cosplay stuff. We have Bartalon, I think he's a Polish guy, makes leather crafting. Cool. So leather dice bags and that sort of thing.
Nice.
Lamentations of the Flame Princess lives in Finland but is American, right, Pontus?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
James Raggy, one of those.
Yeah.
Raggy, I think. Yeah. I'm familiar with Lamentations.
We also used to have before he passed, Joe Dever was a frequent visitor to Gothcon, because the RPG publisher that had the rights to the Swedish translations of Joe Dever's stuff are also frequent exhibitors with us. So they used to kind of invite Joe along.
Oh, great! Yeah, and I never got a chance to meet him. Unfortunately, I played some of the books when I was younger. Some of the Lone Wolf stuff, but yeah, I haven't really seen the RPG at all.
A really kind guy.
Yeah, he had a lovely reputation amongst the community. Was much missed. Still is. So, obviously, we'll touch on a little controversy here for a moment. Obviously, there's been a massive backlash against Wizards of the Coast recently with the release of the new OGL, or the leak of the new OGL, and then backtracking. And we've covered this extensively on the Brainwaves cast. What's the reaction been to the new OGL in Sweden?
I expect it's been the same as it's been everywhere. I don't think people appreciate it. I especially think in a country where the hobby is very much historically dependent on people being allowed to do their own thing with others' work. I don't think it really plays very well. And a bit of an oddity at Gothcon is that despite the fact that D&D is by no means, like, it might be a little less popular in Sweden than it is in other places, it's still not unpopular. But for weird random reasons, we haven't had any D&D at Gothcon for many, many years. And this year we had an organizer, a former staff member, who said, "Wow, that's got to change. There's got to be D&D at Gothcon. It's Sweden's biggest RPG convention. Let's go." That got cancelled around January.
Yeah,
I can't think why.
No.
So yeah.
Wow.
And I also think that's partly because the strong tradition of our own RPG scene, that we can have so much content without having D&D.
Yeah,
that is true.
Are quite a lot of the RPGs that are produced in Sweden, do they say, yeah, you can use our stuff however you want? Do they do their own sort of open gaming licenses or anything? Or is there an attitude more of sort of free use of this kind of thing?
Not entirely sure. I believe, although if I get this wrong, I know several people who are going to correct me, but I believe Free League uses OGL for their stuff.
Certainly they'd announced when everything broke in January, they'd sort of said, like, yes, that we will be doing more OGL stuff ourselves. I don't know if they actually have one themselves right now, but they certainly said they'd be opening things up a bit more.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
And I know for a long, long time there was a great tradition at Gothcon of people making one-off scenarios based. I mean, a lot of it was based on GURPS and things like that. That they would just, they wrote a convention scenario, as they referred to them, and brought them along, either in completely neutral settings or, based off of something like, oh, this is a bit mutant-esque and things like that.
GURPS, now there's a system I haven't heard of for a while. Never ran it myself, but yeah, has a bit of a reputation. It's being quite complicated. Apart from Gothcon, are there any other? What's the sort of convention scene like in Sweden, in the sort of wider country? Are there other little cons around the place?
Yeah, there are quite a few. We have had some dealings with several of them in south and middle of Sweden. Our like sister convention is Lincoln in Linköping, and it's like a month after us.
Sure.
So they're like pretty much same as us, but maybe a bit smaller.
Sure. And where does that take place?
In Linköping. It's on the East Coast.
Okay.
Around mid-May, I think.
Sure. Any others to note that our listeners should go to?
Because there are several. There is Nacon, the big cosplay convention.
All right, yeah.
Yeah. There's Nordin, which is far up in the north of Sweden. Really nice and something I would like to go to myself, but unfortunately it's on the same weekend as Lincoln is.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah, it's one of the things that the conventions in the UK try to avoid each other a bit, but there's so many of them now that there's definitely some clashes here and there.
Yeah, I think they're geographically so far apart, they think that they don't compete about the same people.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
I feel like I'm forgetting a lot of them now, Pontus.
Did you mention BS Cool?
No. It's the closest one to us in Borås, just outside of Gothenburg. And it's in like October, November each year. It's a nice convention with, I've been there myself for some miniature tournaments, like Warhammer.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a big Warhammer player yourself, Hampus?
I am primarily more than a role player, actually. Been playing fantasy for the past 15 years, I think. And when they did the end game stuff, end time stuff, and then the Age of Sigmar, I actually was part of the community that went with the community built Ninth Age. So more built on the old fantasy setting.
Sure. So the Games Workshop are like doing Old World, aren't they? They're sort of bringing back Warhammer.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And sort of Warhammer Fantasy Battles as well. Do you know much about that, or looking forward to it? Because I sort of keep hearing bits and pieces of it, some of it official, some of it not.
I'm a bit divided on that, actually. I mean, it would be nice to have a game to go back to with, which is supported by company that releases new miniatures and updated rules and so on. But Games Workshop and rules aren't maybe the best combination. And they make awesome miniatures, not so great rules. So I actually prefer playing the community rules at the moment. So
yeah, I used to be a big Warhammer player back in the day, but yeah, I just don't have the time for it anymore, unfortunately. No. So mostly board games and some role playing games these days.
Yeah, I went over to you to actually play Middle Earth instead.
All right, sure.
Yeah,
I've never played it, but it seems to have a very loyal following that really love the game.
Yeah.
So, chaps, I think we're sort of coming to the end of the questions I've got for you. Oh, one more. Are there any conventions, like, given like no restrictions on money and time, are there any particular conventions you'd really like to go to, or conventions you're intending to go to outside of Sweden?
Yeah, we are actually part of a European project at the moment, together with a German convention and a Finnish convention. So they are both putting people up to visit us this year.
Cool.
So 8 people from Dreischcon in Germany and from Ropecon in Finland are visiting us.
Ropecon, I'm not attended it, but I'm sort of vaguely aware of it. Yeah.
All right, cool. So I think Ropecon is in the summer, so I'm actually planning on trying to go there.
Great. Is that people from the committee coming, or just attendees?
I think it's from their committees.
Sure. So they're sort of seeing how you do things, you go and see how they do things, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And we have a project together. We're building a workshop to get kids or younger people into role-playing games.
Oh, cool. Can you tell me a little bit more about
that? I'm actually not part of that from our side. Sure. I see that one of the audience is actually the head from our side.
Would the member of the audience like to come up and tell us about that?
Emil, are you up for that?
No pressure.
No pressure. It's just live.
Yeah. Up you come.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Sorry, what's your name?
My name is Emil. I'm the head of the events, if you say, on Gothcon, or like I organize, coordinate all the what do you call it? It's events, I think.
Or organizers. He's my boss.
Yeah.
So, what's this thing about sort of getting kids into role playing? What's that all about?
It's a Erasmus sponsored project where we together with Ropecon and Dreischcon are going to create a workshop to bring young people, women, and groups that aren't really represented within the role-playing hobby very much.
Okay.
More geared towards those groups and also young people. And we're going to make a workshop concept with materials and the instruction for how to run this workshop that will be publicly distributed, so that anyone, like a teacher or someone having their own convention or anything, can run this workshop anywhere in the world.
Fantastic. I do send that my way when that gets together, because we'll definitely promote that on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're going to.
Yeah.
We're going to promote it from Gothcon as well. So, yeah. Do like message me or DM me when that goes live, because we'll absolutely promote that. Fantastic. Thanks very much. Yeah, no problem.
Cool. I'll just stick it back on the audience for now.
Yeah, cool.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emil.
Thanks, Emil.
Awesome. I think we are done then, gents. Well, thanks very much, Pontus and Hampus, for coming along tonight and telling me a bit more about Gothcon. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you so much again for inviting me over. And I will see you in April for sure.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, yes.
Thanks very much, gents.
Thank you.